Hi, I'm Andrew Armstrong. Welcome to the back office. Now, who among you out there does not love arcade games? Very few of you, I should imagine, and that's because arcade games were always the best. Ever since growing up, we had 8-bit computers and they always tried to emulate the arcade games. And those are the arcade games in the 80s and 90s and the, well, late 90s. And that sort of hardware was a little bit unobtainable. All these arcade machines ran the same chipsets. So technically, when you had your Atari ST or your Mega Drive, you were running the same Motorola chips that the arcades were, but the arcades had more memory, more I/O chips, more Z80s for control, better sound chips, better everything, and they were always better. So when you get to a certain age, like my age, I remember those arcade games because I remember seeing them but not necessarily being able to play them, and I had to make do with my home console ports. And a long while ago, I got one of these. And if you haven't seen one of these are an Nvidia Shield, and it's a portable Android game device, and they're actually pretty fantastic. I did a video a while ago where I was sort of slagging it off because they did an Android update for it and it kind of broke stuff on it, but it'd been in my cupboard collecting dust since then. So what I've done recently is drag it back out, reset the OS. It's still the latest OS, but I just got rid of all my junk on it, all my Facebooks and Twitters, and I decided to make this into a handheld arcade machine. So before I was using emulators for Super Nintendo and NES, which are great, but this is actually really powerful hardware. It's got a lot of 3D processing, things like that. You could have, I think it came with Portal and Half-Life. So you're imagining if you're running 8-bit things on it, it's a bit overkill. And anyway, I had sort of like the £10, £20 handheld clone 8-bit handheld games for that, which I would use. I wouldn't use a sort of £200, £300 unit for it. So what I've done is made it into a handheld Neo Geo. And that's not just a Neo Geo. Oh, hang on, there we go. That's not just a Neo Geo on it, it's actually got the whole Final Burn Alpha on it, so it can run any arcade game. So you could run CPS 2, CPS 3 titles, so you can play Street Fighter 2 as it was in the arcade. But really, my main objective was to play Neo Geo games because I'd never really played them at all as a kid, and now I can. So I'm going to just turn the camera around so you can see the gameplay, and I'll talk you through it. So I'm struggling a bit here to keep it out of the light. In fact, why don't I try turning off the light? There we go. So you can see here now you've got 2 analog sticks, a digital stick, 4 buttons here, and on the back 2 triggers, which are again analog, and 2 digital shoulder buttons. So I've set the shoulder buttons so that I can put coins in the unit by pressing this one. So that'll add coins. And the right one is the start button. As this is an Nvidia Shield, the keys are actually mapped onto the screen. It's a screen-based control, so it works with your touch screen, but we know touchscreen controls suck for arcade games, so I've mapped them to these buttons. It's hard to describe try to show you these graphics. They really are being emulated amazingly well. So just to show you how this works, there's an SD card on the unit in which I've copied a few ROMs. And whatever ROMs are on here, you'll see it will come on the screen. So let's choose Art of Fighting 3, and I've never played this before. So I'm going to put a few coins into the unit. So this really allows you just to have that arcade perfect experience in your hands. It runs really well. Let's try one more. What's that? What's a good game? Shock Troopers. There we go, Shops Group Troopers second squad. Let's try that. Skip all the instructions. I'm going to try to hold it really. And there you have it. So there you have it. I think that's pretty much, you can see how amazing this is, how it sounds. It's absolutely fantastic to have a 100% accurate arcade experience in your hands on a lovely big screen like this. You can plug your headphones in on the train, on the aeroplane, and just go at it. And I think the battery life on the Nvidia Shield Portable is really ages, like hours now, I don't know, like 6 hours or something. Because it is running Final Burn Alpha, you do have an option of multiple emulators on there. So if you do have Super Nintendo ROMs or NES ROMs, you can try them on there. You can get Final Burn Alpha for your PC. In fact, I think it started out on your PC. So test it out there. Now, something about the legality of the ROMs, you know, you have to be a bit careful here and use your best judgment. If you own the games on cartridge or disc or on your, you know, Super Nintendo, or maybe even a compilation. So for example, there's a Neo Geo handheld unit that comes with like 10 games. So if you kind of own them in one format, I think you're probably all right loading the ROMs onto something like this. It's almost like a backup. Again, I don't know the legalities, you've got to be careful. If you don't own the game at all and you've just obtained the ROM off the internet, again, I think that's a bit naughty. What's best to do is probably try to find out who does currently own that IP and see if you can buy it. So if you've got a Nintendo or Steam account and you can get that IP on that format, but then you want to run it on your handheld locally on this thing, you know, I think ethically you're probably all right. Legally, I'll have to leave that up to you. So I hope this has been of some use for you. This is a lovely piece of hardware as well, if you can get your hands on one. Very well made, it's going to last you years, very contemporary in terms of its processing power, even though it's 3 years old. And not only that, I have to admit, if you use Nvidia's grid, you can actually stream games from Nvidia's server over your broadband straight to here. So you can play things like Borderlands or, I don't know, Warcraft or something. You can just play them straight in this wherever you are, as long as you've got a good internet connection. So hardware-wise, it's actually quite nice too. So thank you for watching.